Okay, so our next speaker is Karlyn, and she's the founder of Oh Snap Social. I love that name. And she is the creator of Expert Excellence Engine. So, this is a very strategic content program that is designed specifically for nonfiction authors. So, very niche here because her program helps authors turn their books from, I love this, very expensive business cards into consistent, engaging content. Really is designed to attract the right audience, build authority, but most importantly, drive business results. Now, her expert excellence engine, this is after your book is launched. It gives authors the tools, strategy, confidence to keep their message working for them. So it doesn't matter if the book came out 3 days ago, 3 years ago, she's going to help them with those next steps on that. And so I hope you have pen and paper ready to take notes because she's going to really teach us how to not get overwhelmed feeling like we have to create tons and tons and tons of content.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super stoked to be here and well done with the alliteration. I can't help it. It's just part of the brand at this point. Hi everybody. Karlyn Ankrom, founder of OSNAP Social. And a quick question for you before we dive in. How many feel like they don't have enough content to post? Maybe some of us have some lurking in blogs, newsletters, things like that. And I'm here to tell you that you don't actually have a content quantity problem, you have a content usage problem. Most people think they need more ideas or more videos or more, but what they actually need is a better way to use what they already have. So if you've ever thought like, I don't know what to post, or maybe you have content sitting somewhere not being used, right? And maybe we've already, I've heard business owners over the years, authors included, and a lot of my agency clients started out with these conversations like, I'm just not creative, Karlyn. I don't have time. Like, I'm running a whole business over here. Can't you see it? I'm like, yeah, yeah, same. I don't want to sound too salesy. Anyone else like feel like sometimes when they're posting on social, they feel like an icky used car salesman where it's just like, this doesn't feel in alignment. We'll talk about that. Or it's just, I don't know what to post at all. And I'm here to tell you today, the real issue is you're sitting on content you already have. Perhaps it's on your website, perhaps it's in your email newsletters or in your TED Talks or in your YouTube transcripts. And all of this is perhaps a very real fear of doing marketing or social media wrong. And what I love about social media, especially where we are at right now and its current uh, use, is it's leveling the playing field. So exactly what Serafita says, it has to be social. You have to be willing to build relationships. But also, and this is not me coining the phrase, I think Gary Vee might have said it first around interest media. You are now getting shown to people who don't even follow you. And what's great about that is it actually is an even playing field for us to show up consistently. But how do we do that? And I know Jen's going to be talking a little bit more about the consistency piece, which is super duper important. So I can't wait to hear her talk. But it's this whole concept of repurposing and just taking something you already created that you already have as an asset and not do more work, just create like more mileage to reach more people. And it first starts with defining what that anchor piece of content is. That piece of content that only you can create. Perhaps it's a client win, a lesson learned, a question that you answered maybe multiple times in one day. That you're like, there's some content I can help qualify some leads with by creating the content around it and posting it consistently. And then a moment in your business this week. We're at the time of this recording, it is a Friday. What happened this week? What's that one idea that you can turn into 5 different posts? So instead of asking yourself like, what should I post today? Ask yourself this, how many ways can I say this one thing? And I know people get worried about sounding like a broken record, but what is the stat now? Anyone know it's like 20 touches to actually make anyone do anything these days? It used to be 7 back in the day. And now with all we're inundated with all of this content consistently that how can we break through the noise? And that means sharing that same idea many different ways. So let me show you what this actually looks like. Let's say your anchor idea is I helped a client go from inconsistent posting to 3 posts a week in 30 minutes. That's one idea. Now let's kind of like multiply it. I don't expect you to be able to see or read any of this, but I'll walk you through it. So the story piece, here's what was happening before she came to me, right? So you kind of tell that story. The next is here's the three-step system we use to get her to that result, right? The relatability piece. If you've ever stared at a blank caption or that daunting blinking cursor that a lot of my author friends talk about, that's a story right there that's relatable that people can be like, yeah, that's me. Authority. Most people think they need more ideas, right? Here's why you don't. CTA, this is the call to action. This is really where we get more sales driven. But if you want help building this, how I help this client go from here to here, join me on my next webinar. Join me in an introductory call. What's that call to action? And again, this is one idea stretched across 5 different angles. And this is not saying you have to do all 5. Pick 1 or 2 to take an action on, something that feels easy to create. And then the last piece here, as you walk through these pieces, you want to make sure that you can create not just the different angles, but think about how your audience is consuming content. So could you turn that one idea into a tip that shows up on a YouTube Shorts, which is that short form video, or a written LinkedIn post? So it can be not just used from different angles, but in different mediums, different ways that it's being shared with the world. And again, this inherently relies on who your audience is and knowing who they are. So if you're not creating more, right? It says note, but meant not. If you're not creating more, you're extending the life of what you already made. So now it's your turn. I want you to be thinking about that. How much time we got here? Let me look. So if we've got, 30 seconds, think of one thing that happened this week. Write it down, make a note. What's a tip that you could share from that? What's a story that you could expand upon that client win or that one thing that you learned? And maybe you can even use what you're learning in this session right now, right? To share and then tag everybody here, which also leads to what Serafina was saying, collaboration. Share it. If anyone has anything to share that you kind of came up with, definitely drop it in the chat. I'd love to see it because I like action takers. I think Tara does too. So I'm like, yes, go action takers. And I'm not going to lean too far in this because I'm not trying to take Gen B's thunder but we're in alignment in this. You're probably thinking this is all fine and well, Karlyn, but like I still don't know how to turn my ideas into content that actually sounds like me. That's that's the part that a lot of people get stuck on. And the great news about this method is it's repeatable. You can take that one thing and create 5 different posts from it. And then lean into what Serafina was talking about around the purpose. What's the purpose of this post? What's the purpose of this piece of content? What do you want it to do for you? And that's how you can position it into one of those 5 buckets. But can we, once again, get real for a second? It's not the lack of ideas or of stories or of your brilliance. It's the lack of that structure and that container. And when you don't have a system, everything feels like, ugh, like heavier. That's when like perfectionism creeps in, right? My old friend, perfectionism. And that pressure builds, and the overthinking then leads to second guessing and maybe ultimately posting paralysis. And so you're like, I don't know what to post. It's easier to say that than to really think, what do I already have out there that someone would actually value and like to hear? And I know I've been there. So as we walk through this, I just want to share like a little bit more about the system that I've built, this repeatable system. Again, this is very niche, as Tara was saying. I have an agency that I've built over time, and I've worked with over 50 authors. One of them recently published her book, which was super exciting. And she was on the Mel Robbins podcast. I had nothing to do with that. I helped her prep her brand so that she could be there. Not the PR person. But I realized there was this big gap for those people who are creating books as lead magnets for their business, like building that bridge ecosystem to their business. And the gap is after they published their book, crickets. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to elevate their book and create that lead generation system and creating compelling content that ultimately leads to that conversion. And this is exactly what I help women business owners and authors do is we take what already exists within your assets, your books, your blogs, your talks, your ideas, experiences, and ultimately your expertise and turn them into that consistent strategic content that ladders up to a goal of yours without the overthinking or the feeling like we have to start from scratch, or sounding like anyone else but yourself online. My spring cohort begins on Tuesday, which is wild because where has the first quarter gone? And I still have some space for a few folks. Either way, I'd love to chat and learn more about what you guys are doing in your businesses. I'm a super connector and I know way too many people after being in this industry for 15 plus years. And I'll leave you with this ending thought. You can't be a thought leader if you're not leading thoughts, and being visible is a non-negotiable. Thank you very much. And come hang out with me.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys a chance so you can scan, pin, but don't worry. If you will have all of in the notes, if you're watching the replay, you'll have all of this in the notes.
And I'll drop it in the chat too.
And that'd be great. We're going to drop it in the chat, but you'll have access to all of this. Okay. I'm going to bring us up. So Karlyn, I'm going to have you remove that. Perfect. Great. Couple of things. I hope you guys took a lot of notes. There was one thing that you shared that I actually wrote down that I thought was really great. And I hope you guys all got this, which is the story, tip, relatable, authority, call to action. Sometimes we need a very simple step of what to do. And all of us have stories every week that happen to us in our business. So I love that you led with that, because I do think a lot of times, and you guys put in the chat, how many times do we struggle with, I just don't know what to create. I don't know what I should even come up with. So thinking about what are the stories, I love that. And also the idea, like, what are people asking you about? What are you talking about with your friends? And then having a simple way to take that. And I think one of the key here with all of us in social media is, are we relatable? People 101. We like people that we have things in common with, right? That is like a people skill 101. And so I like how you took that very basic, how do you make friends, right? You become relatable to them and put that into the social media world, right? So I would love for you guys in the comments, if you're watching the replay, put down, what did you learn? What was the one thing that you're like, I could implement this now? This would actually make a difference for me. This will move the needle. We've been talking about not just getting information, but saying, what can I pull from that would work for me in my situation, that if I used right away would start to make a difference in my social media. So we're going to be checking out the comments for that.